So now President Trump likes to brag about the gains that happened under the stock market while he is president. Now, that was over the last year. Of course, the stock market has continued to grow and actually do pretty good. Now, most of us know, however, I would hope so, that the stock market is not representative of the economy at large. And other than some 401ks that do belong to people who are middle class, who have retirements through work, most Americans don't have, well, any stock in what happens in the stock market on Wall Street. Now, we should also know that Donald Trump has had actually very little to do with the stock market, whether it's going up or down. For one, he hasn't put any policy into place, at least not over the past year. Basically, in 2017, all of 2017, we were still running on the Obama economy. So President Obama's policies were still in place the entire year. Can't exactly take credit for that, right? And of course, under President Obama, I pointed out before that the rich and corporations have actually done incredibly well, while regular Americans have not. So it's a criticism I give to both President Obama and President Trump. Under both of those administrations, the wealthy have gotten even wealthier, and the poor have gotten poorer, and things have not improved for regular middle-class, working-class people. So, anyway, over the weekend and earlier into this week, the stock market, which has been inflated because of the rich having so much money, and now even more so with the Trump tax cuts, which causes, of course, these companies that have a surplus of extra money now to do stock buybacks. Okay, so they do stock buybacks, they inflate the market, and the market goes up for a while, and every once in a while, it has a correction. Now, that's exactly what happened the past few days. There has been a correction, and that has caused stocks to tumble before, of course, recovering some of the losses. Now, interestingly enough, when it comes to the stocks actually falling, you don't hear Trump talking about that. No. But again, the truth is that no matter who takes credit for it, you can't actually give the president credit for what happens in the stock market because he's got little to do with both the rise and the fall of the stocks. He's sort of independent of it, okay? Now, there are experts out there that are saying exactly that. This is Dan Alpert, managing partner at Westwood Capital, telling Best Levin, writing for Vanity Fair. He said, quote, Trump's claims all along that the stock market is reflecting his presidency are as ridiculous as blaming him when the market goes down. At the end of the day, the markets would not have risen if not for fairly good corporate earnings and improvement in employment stats and everything that goes along with that. And it's true. Again, the economy has been fairly steady. Corporate profits have obviously been very, very good. Wages basically stagnant, very, very little growth in that. And of course, there are a lot of workers that are like, hey, man, corporations are doing awesome. Maybe we should get a share of that. And that also went into part of why there is a bit of a correction, because workers are starting to demand higher wages, which I believe that every worker should have a living wage. And maybe, we could look into having like a maximum wage for corporate executives, but it's a completely different conversation. Now, let's see. Again, employment stats, corporate earnings, doing pretty good. So you had stocks doing pretty good. But Dan Alpert says, quote, Trump doesn't truly understand any of this. He does not understand what's going on in the financial markets. Well, that's because Trump is an idiot. And that's actually sort of a nice way of putting it. Now, Greg Valere, chief strategist for Horizon Investments, added that though the ex-real estate mogul may, quote, fancy himself a great expert on all things financial, the markets are tricky and they're really humbling. Not to be cliche, but you live by the sword and you die by the sword. You can't have it both ways. So that right there, he's basically saying Donald Trump, he can't have it both ways. He can't claim that the stock market was fantastic under his watch and that the stock market tumble was not his fault. Now, ironically, that's, of course, what they're actually trying to do. You have Republican Sean Hannity, they're like, stock market going down, Obama. That doesn't even make any sense. Like, how are you going to go and blame Obama for the stock market going down a little bit when it traditionally has been going up. He hasn't had anything to do with it. He's been out of presidency for over a year now. But, of course, they're going to do that. Now, basically, if you take credit for rising markets under your watch, then you need to take credit for falling markets under your watch, too. It's only fair. But again, as I mentioned, the president has actually little to do with what's going on in the stock market other than helping to create the environment. And that, again, that same environment existed under Barack Obama, where the stock market continued to rise. And those policies continued into the first year of the Trump presidency. But anyway, no. But the president thinks, no, markets love me. I'm the greatest stock market president ever, without actually knowing anything. He is a child. He's a baby. He doesn't quite understand. And he hasn't said baby for a while yet, for a while. But see, again, that's what he's going to do. Now, Levin writes, another president may have been humbled by Monday's proceedings, which not only made Trump look dumb, but cut into his press time. But Trump is no ordinary commander-in-chief. During a hearing on Tuesday, he ordered Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin to tell the House Financial Services Committee that the administration will, quote, still claim credit for the fact that the market is up over 30% since the election. But again, Donald Trump didn't do anything to do that. The only legislative achievement that he really has, and I use the word achievement pretty loosely, is cutting taxes for corporations. Now, again, I explained earlier that when you do that, and these companies are now flush with cash, what are they going to do? They're not going to invest in more jobs without demand. No, what they're going to do is that they're going to do more stock buybacks, which, of course, inflates the stock market. That's why the stock market is a terrible indicator for the health of the economy overall. Just because the financiers are doing great doesn't mean everybody else is. In fact, most Americans are not benefiting from these tax cuts. In fact, there's a recent poll, and I love to cite this one. Only 2% of Americans polled say that they have seen any sort of benefit from the tax cut, and that includes raises in pay and bonuses. 2% of Americans. However, at the same time, a lot of places, Carrier, Comcast, AT&T, Harley-Davidson, Kimberly-Clark, all companies that are saving billions of dollars from these tax cuts also have simultaneously cut jobs. That's despite giving out bonuses to a few lucky people that amount to what is basically pocket change compared to what their true profit margins actually are. So, but anyway, despite the experts, despite people who actually know what actually goes on in the market, President Trump will continue to falsely claim credit because, like he says, he's like a smart person and a very stable genius. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.